In this century, great strides have been made toward the goal of subverting our republic into a democracy. The foremost tactic of the subverters is subversion of language. By calling America a democracy until people thoughtlessly accept and use the term, the totalitarians have obscured the real meaning of our principles of government. That is a summary of my report on a constitutional republic, not a democracy.
Welcome back to Notify America. We have multiple pressing stories to get to. Stories that include a major update in the Republican primary race as Ron DeSantis drops out and endorses President Trump. Also, we have a complete breakdown for tomorrow's primary in New Hampshire, what to expect, when to expect it, because early voting begins in just 12 hours, more or less, 12:01 a.m. tomorrow morning in New Hampshire. And what's Nikki Haley been up to? Is she campaigning as a Democrat or as a Republican? Who are the voters she's trying to reach? Which one is it? It's hard to tell. We have some video you're going to want to see. Also, some disturbing news about community notes on X just surfaced. We have the details and more stories from around the world that are important and the stories that corporate media doesn't want to touch. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps me out. And consider subscribing to continue receiving these daily updates. Ron DeSantis drops out of the 2024 Republican primary, making the announcement in a video release on Sunday, endorsing Donald Trump and criticizing Nikki Haley in the process, who he says is a repackaged form of warmed-up corporatism. Watch this.
If there was anything I could do to produce a favorable outcome, more campaign stops, more interviews, I would do it. But I can't ask our supporters to volunteer their time and donate their resources if we don't have a clear path to victory. Accordingly, I am today suspending my campaign. I'm proud to have delivered on 100% of my promises, and I will not stop now. It's clear to me that a majority of Republican primary voters want to give Donald Trump another chance. They watch his presidency get stymied by relentless resistance, and they see Democrats using lawfare this day to attack him. Well, I've had disagreements with Donald Trump, such as on the coronavirus pandemic and his elevation of Anthony Fauci. Trump is superior to the current incumbent, Joe Biden. That is clear. I signed a pledge to support the Republican nominee, and I will honor that pledge. He has my endorsement because we can't go back to the old Republican guard of yesteryear, a repackaged form of warmed-over corporatism that Nikki Haley represents.
Nikki Haley has successfully been granted her wish to turn this into a two-person race, something that Vivek's been warning would happen. And then if Trump's removed via some judicial gymnastics or whatever, something or other, we're stuck with Nikki Haley, the worst type of establishment politician. Watch this clip of her on NBC talking about immutable characteristics, not talking about issues or policy, something that Republicans are completely tired and bored listening to, but something that every Democrat has to say when campaigning. Watch this.
We were the only Indian family in our small southern town. I was teased every day for being brown. So anyone that wants to question it can go back and look at what I've said on how hard it was to grow up in the deep South as a brown girl. But what I will tell you is, saying that I had black friends is a source of pride. Saying that I had white friends is a source of pride. If you want to know what it was like growing up, I was disqualified from a beauty pageant because I wasn't white or black, because they didn't know where to put me. So look, I know the hardships, the pain that come with racism. It's the reason that I fight bullies every day when it comes to racism, anti-Semitism, or hate, and I always will. If I didn't mention slavery on that day, it's because that's an automatic. There's always been, the Civil War's always been known about slavery.
No one cares about race. At least Republicans don't. But you know who does? Democrats do. At least MSNBC viewers do. The Democratic voters she appears to be catering to right now obviously do, because that's what's happening here. She's campaigning as a Democrat, at least until New Hampshire's over, and there's a reason for that. The voter base in New Hampshire is made up by a massive independent voting bloc, and if Trump trounces Nikki in New Hampshire, she's done. But if she's able to come close, or even if she's able to win New Hampshire, we're in for a wild month, as the next election isn't until February 24th in South Carolina. So it'll be nonstop coverage for a month straight about how Trump's a loser, how Republicans want an alternative, all of that kind of nonsense. Now here's the details for tomorrow. First vote is cast at 12:01 a.m. Tuesday morning, tomorrow morning in Dixville Notch, very tiny county in northern New Hampshire with a population of 6. Now there's 10 counties in total in New Hampshire and around 850,000 voters. Democrats and Republicans are pretty much evenly split down the middle, like 250 to 250,000. Each party has about that many voters in their block, but there's 343,000 independents in the state, registered independents, who can vote for either party, for either Republican or Democrat. In the last 7 competitive Republican primaries, the candidate who won New Hampshire went on to win the nomination. Now, how many voters purposefully switched their party affiliation in the last few weeks? Around 4,200 people did. 700 Republicans changed to independents, but 3,500 Democrats changed to independent in just the last few weeks. And that's what the Trump campaign is concerned about. How many Democrats will vote for Nikki Haley? In another story, MSNBC loses their minds over a new popular video game that's all the rave right now. It's an Alex Jones video game where you go around fighting globalists. It's meant as light humor, not extremism. But of course, leave it to MSNBC to turn it into the end of the world. Watch this.
Is there a way to counter the types of hate that people like Alex Jones promote, and now they do in video games? I mean, this is a party that talks about video games being dangerous for our kids. You know, whenever there's a mass shooting, they say it's the video games, they say it's mental health, they don't want to take responsibility for anything. And yet here he is with a video game that promotes violence and celebrates that kind of violence.
In another story, reports are starting to surface that community notes on X are being weaponized to censor, deprioritize, and demonetize accounts that have alternative viewpoints from the approved narrative. Now, if you don't use X or you're not familiar with what this is, community notes is Elon Musk's way to agree on a shared truth or a shared base of knowledge, like Al Gore would say. So this is something that the advertising lobby requires of big media. If you're a big social media company, or any media company for that matter, that has significant reach, they want to control what content appears around ads. Don't show ads on content that disagrees with authoritative truth. Well, instead of banning, suspending, or censoring people outright like Twitter used to do, Elon's idea was to have community notes as a feature instead, where if you see a post you wish to correct, you can create a note that provides information and links to data to support your position. Then, if enough contributors approve the note, it goes live. Now, a few weeks ago, Elon announced that any posts that have community notes on them will automatically be demonetized and are basically deemed to be untruthful. And it's funny because we've seen big corporate media post things that have ended up getting community noted. But what's happening now is there are apparently groups that are using the feature to purposefully target accounts and continuously community note everything that they post. Alex Jones, for instance, he could say anything and people would put a community note on his post. He could say, "What a beautiful day it is outside," and I would be shocked if they didn't community note him and link to a national weather service showing that it's cloudy outside. Look at the breakdown this guy did on this. His post has almost 3 million views, 21,000 likes. He says this: "Let's talk about community notes. FYI, I'm a community notes contributor. What I'm seeing is a direct attempt to silence, censor, deprioritize, demonetize, isolate, and cast doubt against anyone that questions the current plans of government's big pharma and the ruling classes. This is the username for a single community notes contributor." He says, since joining community notes in March 2023, it has posted nearly 5,000 community notes. Is it a bot, he asks, a group of paid agenda activists, or maybe 3-letter agencies? One thing's for sure, in my opinion, he says, it's impossible to be a single person. It's posting over 70 community notes per day, every day, without rest. These notes have to be backed up with linked supporting evidence, It's just not possible to achieve this on a daily basis. This is a relentless attack on anyone that dares to question the things that happen to us or the plans they have in place for humanity, he says. Attached is a video, all the community notes that this user has added, both published and pending in just the last 10 days. Here's the video he included. This is from within the community notes portal, by the way. What you'll notice is they continue to community note the same accounts. You can see Alex Jones constantly hit with community notes, Dom Lucre, Kanoa the Great, another popular Twitter account. Also, right-leaning news outlets as well. They're also doing it to The Blaze, for instance. He goes on to say this: the vast majority of these notes are in pending waiting to go live status. The video goes on forever, he says. It's only the last 10 days worth, impossible for a single user to create. There's no doubt you will know someone in this video that they've attempted to censor. You'll notice recurring themes. This user protects the jabs, big pharma, current government regimes, climate change, and the WEF. Anyone that questions what's going on, that has a large follower base, appears to be targeted, especially people with blue check marks. The community notes that have been approved all appear to be supported by the same group of contributors. This is really bad and extremely concerning. Then he goes on to tag Elon in the post, saying, Elon Musk, you urgently need to do a complete audit of community notes, especially targeting the most active contributors. They're either bots or groups of bad actors working together to utilize a single account and push an agenda. I'm a community notes contributor, and I am telling you that this system is compromised. Now look, I'm shocked that they haven't done more yet to try to tear Elon down, as there are factions in the government that really dislike him. We've heard Democrats in Congress call for the DOJ to investigate him. Maybe the community notes feature is a loophole that's just been keeping them busy. I have no idea, but all of this will no doubt be ramping up as we get closer to November. All right, that wraps up this episode. Like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.